Hey everyone, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast, and I thought about making a video about this. Well, it'll be on this topic, kind of. It's really there's just the division culture war going on in the comic book industry, and I think it's going to evolve into the next leg of the journey pretty soon. And part of that is just because of the election. That's what it comes down to. It's the election. Last time there was an election, that basically was what set off a chain reaction of events that led to the comic book industry just being an out and loud miserable mess basically. And so you can't have conversations. What's funny is if you're looking at this from the outside, you can't have conversations about facts like sales figures and things like that in the comic book industry, things that you would think are not political whatsoever. Here's Ron Mars posting, the man on YouTube said comics are dying. Why is this such a heated thing in that graphic novels? Dogman is selling very well. Manga is selling very well. But to point out that the comic book industry is going through a very rough time and that things are not looking good for the direct market, that has for some reason become some kind of a political point of contention, and it is something that will get you pushed out of comics if you address this, at least publicly. If you address it, it's going to be a bit of a problem for you. How did this happen? Why is the comic book industry at this point? Well, I think it actually has a lot more to do with the fact that Trump got elected than anything else, because it ends up being anybody that didn't vote for my guy, whatever opinions they have are bad. That's what it comes down to. So we're going to get into this video. First, Fatal is on Indiegogo still. Why? Because it's in demand now. We finished off over $83,000. We're still growing. We're already past 84,000. Help us get to 85. And what I really want to do is push this thing to $100,000. It is a big deal. It is important, and especially for, I don't know, even just for the simple fact that you can be a regular person that is breaking into comics, so to speak. You can get into comics and make it a successful and, and have growth, make it a successful enterprise, have growth, and get your stories told. It's also just one of the best books out there in comics. I'm really, really excited to get this out to you. So thank you so much for your support. And yeah, back Fatal. Link in the description below. All right, so lately I've been getting recommended a lot of videos from 2 years ago. And first I was like, why is it all this Mark Waid stuff suddenly coming up? I think it just has to do with the anniversary, perhaps. It might have to do with the algorithm picking up that more people are interested in searching on it. And part of this, in my opinion, is because the election is coming up. It seemed like things were cooling down quite a bit. Mark Waid was pretty famous for saying, when asked at a convention panel, basically what the climate was like in comics. And he brought up that conservatives are not pushed out of comics. It's just jerks that are pushed out of comics. And for every one conservative jerk, there are 10 liberal jerks that are pushed out of comics. Something like that. Now, first, it makes you wonder about the ratio there. Why are there 10 liberal jerks to one conservative jerk? And I think that the assumption is, and that the belief always is pushed on you, that, well, there's just more liberals are better at making comics than conservatives are. They have more interest in making comics. It's just, it's one of those things. They're just more artistic or something like that. You'll hear this kind of thing all the time. And it's kind of obnoxious when you are a conservative creator, because then you think, oh, am I not good enough? Like, what is it about the way that I vote that makes it that I'm just naturally not equipped for the comic book industry? Well, the truth is there are a lot of conservative creators in comics, but they have to be very silent. You can't do this. Imagine for a moment, and I brought this up on the live stream, but imagine for a moment that you had a Trump for president victory fund, And the goal was to have a whole bunch of comic book creators that wanted to get together and speak and have some kind of a panel as to what it's like to be a I have no idea what they're going to talk about, but they're all comic creators, names like Mark Waid, Ron Mars, who we just saw both of those, Greg Pak, Heather Antost, Jamal Igo, so on and so on. What is it like to have all of these names together in a room? You can sign up, you can pay him money so that help Joe Biden get into the presidency. But let's imagine for a moment, if Mark Waid was right and it's not about keeping conservatives out, what would happen, truthfully, if the current sitting president, the guy running for the Republican, he is the Republican nominee. What would happen if a group of comic book creators got together and decided to do something like this to raise money for Donald Trump? I'm talking about exactly the same thing that's happening here for Biden. What would happen to those comic book creators? We've already seen in recent days that the assumption is that every actor, anybody that has any kind of celebrity credibility, should be voting for Biden. Anybody that doesn't should be castigated. They should lose work. That's when it's okay to be upset. Unless they're extremely quiet about it. I'm specifically thinking of someone like Chris Pratt, who apparently came out that he's going to be supporting Trump. I don't know that he actually said that. He just didn't say that he was going to support Biden, but that's enough. Someone like Ice Cube, who has been having problems lately because he, I guess, had a conversation with some of Trump's people. Somebody like 50 Cent, who said he's going to be voting for Trump because of taxes. The assumption is that you have to think this way, and if you don't, if you move outside of that circle, there are going to be consequences. It's astonishing to me because you would believe an accuser if they're in a situation and they accuse somebody like, hey, there's something unfair happening, I'm being oppressed under these circumstances. You would say that you would listen unless it had to do with the way that they think or the way that they vote. So I'm not suggesting, I think that this is silly in and of itself to make a comics panel that's specifically for pushing one presidential candidate. I really want to see I just want to be a fly on the wall, but I don't want to pay the $50 to the Biden campaign to get to be on that wall. But I'm curious what they're going to talk about. I'm very curious. But tell me, Mark Waid from 2 years ago, would this be okay? Would it be acceptable for this to happen on the other side of the aisle? If you can truthfully say that, I really don't think you can. But if you can, then maybe the comic industry isn't so bad off. Maybe you are right then if this could happen. I don't believe so, though, because at the same time, you can have someone like Heather Antos working in comics, taking, whatever, pot shots on the whole political process on Twitter. You can do that. I'm not saying that she shouldn't be able to have political opinions. Go for it. But what I'm saying is it's not a two-way street, because the assumption is if your Twitter timeline can't look totally like this, but have the opposite point of view, if you can't do that and work in comics, why can you do this? And that has been the point of contention, I think. And it goes beyond this. What ought to be the case is that publishers should be neutral. If you want to have creators from everywhere, and if comics really are for everyone, like Mark Waid kept saying again 2 years ago, if that's the case, then you got to put it into practice right now. Then comic creation should be for everyone. There shouldn't be a political test. And if you're a comics creator and you're allowed to share your political opinion in very public ways, you should be able to share it in very public ways, no matter who you are, no matter who you vote for. You should be able to do that. So let me know what you think about all of this. Do you think that the election is going to bring up some more nastiness and cause sort of the next great fight in the comic book industry, or you think people have started to see the errors of their ways and that things will get better. I'd love to know. Don't forget to back Fatal. It's in the link in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video.